After going on more than 40 cruises, I realized that there are some big and some little things that have the potential to make a cruise better or worse. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now I have to say, over the last couple of years, there are some things that we have started to do on cruises that I never did before that have actually made a big difference. And in some cases, they didn't cost a lot of money at all. But again, they really did improve our experience. And in other cases, there are things that I used to do on cruises that truthfully, I just don't do anymore. Now, this video is quite personal, so the things that I say I don't do anymore or that I do, it doesn't mean that they are right for you. But I did think that this would be a fun discussion to have, not only with first-time cruisers, but also with seasoned cruisers, because I'd love to hear from you. Now, you know the drill. Before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Now I have 13 things that I always do on a cruise and 3 things that I never do. So first, let's start off with the always list. I pretty much always now get a balcony cabin. Now there can be a couple of exceptions, but truthfully, it's a balcony cabin. Now I say this because for the first 10 years that we were cruising, we would get an inside cabin, and there's nothing wrong with that. I still swear by that decision, even though my kids were young, even though they were sleeping on basically bunk beds above our heads. This was a great way to cruise affordably, have an amazing vacation. And the truth is, in those years, we were rarely in our cabin. But you know what they say about getting a balcony? Once you experience a balcony, it is very hard to go back. And we are finding this now, even if I look at the pricing, and it's much less expensive to get an inside cabin. It's hard for me to give that up. We genuinely enjoy looking at the ocean. I love having my breakfast or a cup of coffee out on the balcony and just having that additional space. Number 2, speaking of our balcony, we almost always take in sail away from our balcony. Now, we sometimes do a little bit of a hybrid where if there is a really good sail away party, we'll go to the sail away party for just a little bit because I do really enjoy that festive atmosphere. But then I'm pretty anxious to just get on our balcony, and I love to watch the ship sail away from there. And oftentimes, because I want to make good use of time, that's when I start to do my unpacking as well. I almost always get a laundry package. Now, in some cases, cruise lines have a laundry package that you can get maybe a bag of laundry for between $35 and $50. And in other cases, you could sign up for a laundry package, including pressing and your cleaning for the entire cruise. And in some cases, with your loyalty status, you get some benefits as well. Well, we were on a Holland America cruise, and they had a press and clean package for, it depends on the length of the cruise, but I think it was 12 days, and it was around $100 for the 12 days. It was Panama Canal. And honestly, it was really hot during that cruise, so I knew we were all going to need our clothes washed. Honestly, on the first day, I signed up for that. And that was one of the best purchases that I have ever made. Now, whenever I get the opportunity, I always do this. And if I have the package for the whole time, why not? I actually get my laundry done before I head home. Now, please let me know, by the way, do you take any of the laundry specials? Please let me know if you think that is worth it or not down in the comments below. Now, I do have something else that I've started to do over the last year or so that does cost money, but I definitely think it's worth it. But first, I did want to talk about embarkation day, something that we do every time. First thing on embarkation day is we do the muster station check-in. We make sure that that is done first. When we first started to cruise after the pandemic, we'd go have a drink, we would go have lunch, we would do a couple of other things, and then we'd get to the muster station. But now I just don't feel right if I don't do the muster station check-in right away. I want to get that out of the way even before oftentimes our embarkation day mimosas. Now, speaking of embarkation day, something that I always do, because one time I didn't do this and I regretted it, is I always board early on embarkation day. This is something that I have been doing for years. I still swear by this. The one time I decided to try getting on board a little bit later. I was like, you know what? Maybe other people that are sharing this tip, maybe there's some value to this. I will give it a try. So we boarded our Carnival cruise probably somewhere around 1:30 p.m. is when we arrived at the port. By the time we boarded, it was 2 p.m. And you know what happens? You still have the same amount of things to do in that window of time. The muster station check-in, all of those things that you have to reserve on the first day, grabbing lunch, going to sail away. And all that happened by boarding later is I compressed the amount of time that I had to do those things in, and I had less time to relax and enjoy. On embarkation day, I always ask the cabin attendant for a few things. And there's one thing that you may not have known that I pretty much almost always do. So one of the things is I always ask for extra hangers. There's never a time that I'm not going to pack a little bit too much. I'm always going to need them. I'm almost always going to ask to press certain items. If the second night is the formal or the dressy nights, there's a good chance that I need a pressing. And even if it does cost a few dollars, I just think it's worth it. Even though I like Downy Wrinkle Release or whatever the equivalent is, I just don't think it does as good a job on certain items. I always ask for bathrobes. To me, it's a little luxury during a cruise, and I love them. And the other thing that I ask for is if we're going to be 3 people in the cabin, as we often are, I ask the cabin attendant to please put away that third Pullman bed or the sofa bed to basically tidy that up every single day. Now, most of the time, that is no problem at all. There are some cruise lines, though, that only have once a day housekeeping. So in that case, I understand when they can't do it. But in the past, all cabin attendants always put away the bed during the day, and I just feel like the cabin looks much better without having unmade beds. So that is something that I always request. And by the way, I do know that that is a little bit of an extra ask, so I do always tip extra for that. Now, here's something new that I've started to do probably only over the last year and a half or so, and I did start this on a long cruise, but now I pretty much do it on pretty much every cruise. So this is going to the hair salon and having my hair done in a blowout. Now, I do this because truthfully, even though I can blow dry my own hair, it is never going to be as smooth and as voluminous as they are able to do at the hair salon. So usually on night 2, which is the formal night or the dressy night, I will make an appointment at around 4 or 4:30. And it truly is a bit of a pleasure to be able to sit back for about an hour, have my hair done, and not have to think about it. And sometimes I get it done a second time during that week. Now, if you do have extra onboard credit and you're not sure what to use it for, this might be just the thing. Now, please let me know, guys and girls, if you ever go to the salon on a cruise ship and if you think it's worth it. Please let me know down in the comments below. Now, speaking of salons, Frank and I only did this once, but I am definitely going to do it again, I think, is that Frank and I both had his and her pedicures at the salon. And I did this because typically I would get my pedicure in the week before my cruise, but it was such a busy week leading up to the cruise. And again, I think we had a large onboard credit. So we thought, oh, why not? I was making my appointment. And then, you know what? I thought maybe Frank would enjoy that too, which he did. It was quite relaxing. So that is something I'm definitely not opposed to doing in the future. I know a lot of people do massages and things like that, but I'm one of the rare people who doesn't absolutely love a massage, but I truthfully do like a hair blowout and a pedicure. I almost always order room service breakfast. Now, even if we're not very hungry, even if we still plan to go to the buffet or to the main dining room, we'll often order a pot of coffee, some fruit, and some pastries. Now, Frank likes to call this pre-breakfast, or some people call it first breakfast. But this way we can have this when we wake up at around 7 a.m. as we're getting ready. And then when we get to the buffet, Frank always finds that by the time you wait for your omelet to be made and you finally sit down, that he's actually quite hungry by this point. So he likes the fact that he's eaten before. And I like the fact that this is a little bit of a wake-up call, and it does get me out of bed. And most cruise lines do have continental free breakfast, so this is something that doesn't have to cost a thing. We always fly in at least 1 day before our cruise. This has always been the case. We still do this. And if we're going overseas or anywhere far, we always do a minimum of 2 days just in case. Almost always skip 1 port during our cruise. Now, this can depend because if we haven't been to those cruise ports before, there's a better chance that we're going to get off the ship for every single port. But if we've been to the cruise ports before, we are often going to skip one of those port days and we're going to make it like a fake sea day when we know almost everybody is off the cruise ship. And by the way, this is a great day to do things like even swimming on the cruise ship. Oftentimes the pools are so crowded. So on that day, it really gives me the opportunity to relax and unwind. Now I have one more and then I'm going to let you know the 3 things that I never do anymore on a cruise. So the thing that we pretty much have started to always do on a cruise, and this has only been over the last year, is we do not rush on disembarkation day. Now, of course, we still leave our cabin when we have to, but we tend to go to the buffet, or if the main dining room is open, we're going to go to the main dining room. We'll bring our carry-on bags with us. It's not a problem. We're going to have a leisurely breakfast, or maybe there's another alternative. And we'll only leave the ship somewhere around 9:30, sometimes even closer to 10 when they start to call that last group. And this way we don't have to rush unless we have to get off the cruise ship because we're getting on an early flight. There's just no reason to make that day more stressful than it needs to be. All right, now here are the 3 things that I never, or at least rarely do anymore on a cruise. Buy professional photos. Now I still think it's a great idea to buy professional photos. It's still cheaper on a cruise ship than it would be at home to hire a photographer. But honestly, this is something we just don't do anymore unless we have the Princess Premier package when it does come included, because then I do enjoy having those memories. Now, the other thing that I rarely do anymore is I rarely stay up late anymore, like very late, but I also rarely wake up super early anymore. I used to on cruises stay up very late sometimes and also wake up very early. I basically didn't want to miss a thing. And maybe this is partly to do with age, but I've become more relaxed with that. And most of the time we're going to be heading to bed, between like 11:30 and around 12 p.m., which is still later than I might go to bed at home. And my wake up time is more or less around 7 to 7:30 a.m. on a cruise, which I guess isn't super late, but I did used to always be up at 6 a.m. So it is later than I used to be. And I rarely buy any souvenirs anymore. I used to buy souvenirs not only for other people, but even for me, for keepsakes to take home. And I still do buy things if I see something an artist made or something that will just keep a memory for me at home, or maybe a piece of jewelry. We definitely do still occasionally buy, but I don't look for souvenirs just to find something to bring home. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know one thing that you either always do on a cruise or one thing that you never do on a cruise anymore, or even both. Please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.